And Mancuso's Loft, with its amazing sound and inclusive vibe, was the perfect place for dancers to experiment, to meld those influences informally.
Exactly. He created the environment where these new dance forms could bubble up organically. He wasn't just playing music, he was facilitating culture.
Okay, so we've covered music, film, underground culture, but 1971 also had these massive foundational shifts happening on a bigger scale. Let's talk about the economy, the Nixon shock.
Yeah, that's a huge one. August 15, 1971, President Nixon basically announces the US dollar won't be convertible to gold anymore, at least temporarily.
And beyond the economy, 71 was a year marked by some pretty intense events in the U.S. too, reflecting social struggles.
Definitely. On the crime front, you had the Charles Manson trial concluding finding him and his followers guilty. A really dark chapter closing, in a way. But then tragically, you also had the Attica prison riot in New York.
That was horrific, exposed terrible conditions, but ended so violently when the state police stormed the prison. Also a year of saying goodbye to some major icons.
It was. We lost Sonny Liston, the boxer, Jim Morrison joining the 27 Club, the absolute legend Louis Armstrong, and the brilliant guitarist Duane Allman. Each loss felt like the end of an era in its own way.
But new things were starting too, right? Laying groundwork for the future.
Absolutely. NPR had its very first broadcast in April 71. All Things Considered debuted, a huge moment for public radio.
And Walt Disney World opened in Florida. Hard to imagine the landscape without it now.
Right. A whole new era of entertainment. And maybe quieter at the time, but George Lucas founded Lucasfilm in 71.
Wow. Setting the stage for Star Wars and everything else. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, amazing how these seemingly small beginnings can grow into cultural empires. It really shows the mix of endings and beginnings that defined that year. Hashtag outro.
So when you pull it all together, 1971 really wasn't just another year on the calendar, was it?
Not at all. It feels more like a cultural nexus point. This intense blend of looking inward and lashing outward in music, the bold experiments in film, that radical inclusivity happening underground.
And then that fundamental economic shift happening almost behind the scenes. It was a year of facing the past, but also diving into the unknown.
Absolutely. And so many of the threads started in 71 are still woven into our lives today. The music we listen to, the movies we watch, the financial system we navigate. The groundwork was laid then.
It really makes you think. We look back at 71 and see these shifts, some loud, some quiet, that had such huge long-term effects. Kind of leaves you wondering.
That's happening now.
Exactly. What seemingly small or overlooked shift happening today might be the thing that profoundly shapes the next 50 years.
That's a great question to ponder.
Something for all of us to think about. Well, thanks for diving deep with us into 1971.
It was fascinating.
Join us next time for another deep dive.